It's the Locked On Flyers podcast for Monday, December 11th. Your daily dose of Flyers news, analysis, and high quality content that was excited about that win at high altitude, Russ.
Yeah, things look good.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the adjustments they made for that game, plus get into our nemesis of the week.
Your Locked On Flyers, your daily podcast on the Philadelphia Flyers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, and thanks for making Locked On Flyers your first listen every day. I am Rachel Donner. You can find me on the app formerly known as Twitter at rmiriam. I'm here with Russ Cohen, who's on all your favorite social media apps at Sportsology. We are at Locked On Flyers on Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, and Twitter as well. Today's episode is brought to you by Sleeper. Download the Sleeper app and use the promo code LOCKEDONNHL to get up to $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. You can find us over on YouTube or on the SiriusXM app or anywhere you listen to podcasts. Subscribe to get our latest episode as soon as it's available here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Russ, I was a little bit hesitant when I heard that they were going with the 11-7 for the game in Colorado. And I was mostly upset because Ollie Lixel wasn't going to get to play. And we've been talking about that we wanted him to get the ice time. He kind of got a bonus game in Arizona because of Ryan Poehling being ill. Poehling is still sick, but Lixel didn't get in. But the more I thought about it, the more I was like, nah, this is like, could be the right way to go here. And it turned out right in the end. But with the high altitude, trying to balance out defenseman minutes out here, you want to maybe allow for shorter shifts, allow for more rest in between, especially given the Avs' potent offense and looking at your defenseman and ice time. I don't know that they got the balance exactly right in the end, and maybe that was situational to the game in particular. But I think that from a strategic standpoint, it did make sense to me.
Yeah, to me it didn't, only because if Stahl would have played like 12 minutes, then I would have said, okay, I get what you're doing here, because then Sanheim would have played like 20 instead of 22. It would have balanced
Right.
it better. What you're saying is true, that things happen in the game, but again, these are steps that happen, and then you look back on it and you say, okay, so why was Lixel called up? And again, I'm looking at this negatively because I know he doesn't get in the game if Poehling's not hurt. I don't know why he's not gotten in this game. So why should he get in next game? But why is he up at all then? It's nice to get a reward because you're doing well, but actually playing regularly is the reward. That's what the reward's supposed to be.
Yeah, I think that for this particular game, I understand why they did it. And I think there were just factors within the game itself that prevented them from executing completely on the 11-7
So
strategy.
you expect him to
And
be in next game now that they've won?
I think so. I think so.
I'm not
Assuming the
certain of that.
Paling,
I don't know.
I'm not certain about it just because I don't know what the situation will be with Paling. And I think that they're going to prioritize putting Paling back in. But I think that all things being equal, they would try to get him in this game against Nashville and get him a few more minutes. But I do think that the strategy was right. It was like how it panned out in execution that maybe could have been better, to your point, in terms of lowering
Yeah.
Sanheim's minutes a little bit and upping Stahl's minutes a little bit
Yeah.
just to get that balance. But it turned out good for Travis Sanheim, that's for sure,
It
in
did.
terms of this play in the game. I do want to touch on the other bit of practice related news before we dig more into the game. They talked about having a sign up sheet to get some additional shooting help, which is something we've been talking about, for over
A
a
year and
year
a
at
half.
this point.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a long time. It's good that they're doing it, but he only mentioned two names. He only mentioned Owen Tippett and Tyson Forster. Why not Cam York? Cam York's point shot needs a ton of work. He's got 4 goals. I know one of them he just recently got off the rush, so that wasn't a shot. I see his shooting percentage is 9%. Like, he needs work at it. If he's going to be the point guy, he needs work. Why isn't he on the sign-up sheet? So, like, I still think, yes, it's fine that they're doing it now, but you were evaluating guys last year that needed it last year, over the summer. Like, again, there's plenty of development people in this building that should have been pushing for this harder. That's my feeling.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I'm gonna say better late than never in
That's
this
fine. It's
case.
always everything in life is better late than never if you do
Yeah,
something. Most of the time,
yeah.
it works most of the time.
I also think that other guys will take advantage of this. He did mention Tippett and Forster, just as far as the priorities in terms of maybe nudging them to do it a little bit more.
Right.
But anyone on the team is welcome to
Well,
sign
they
up.
all could do it.
Yeah. So maybe that now that that's out there in the media, like there'll be more guys signing up to do it, and York will be one of them. So, I do think that is a good sign overall. But yes, they should have been doing this a lot sooner. That's for
Yeah.
sure. Getting back into this fourth consecutive win for the Flyers against the Colorado Avalanche. I think that there are two things here that I want to focus on. Number one, they really, I think, effectively use this combination approach of
Hmm.
blocking shots with solid neutral zone defense to try and stop the Avs offense. We talked specifically about how they got beat versus the Rangers, and there was a risk for this
Right.
again here. And I really think they did a good job of mitigating that.
Well, they mitigated the goals on the board, and Carter Hart did a lot of that, but they gave up a lot of shots, and I'm pretty sure the high danger chances were plentiful too. But again, to
Well,
your point, it all worked. So I can't, say too much about it. I could talk about the bad Coyotes goaltending because Coyotes. He's a former Coyote. I think the bad Colorado
yeah, it was on
goaltending.
his helmet, which they
Yeah,
noticed
which
during the
that
game.
second helmet that they brought in.
Oh my
But
god.
that was funny. But that, I do think that derailed the team a bit. I do, and so I think there's a little bit of a mixed bag on that part. But what the Flyers were trying to do, they did. It's just they're not going to get that many rebound chances against a lot of teams in this league. We have to, acknowledge that even against Nashville. Nashville's not a great team, but UC Saros isn't giving up that many rebounds, first and second chances. But all that said, they still buried them. So I give them credit for burying them. There's a lot of hyperbole though right now with Travis Sanheim that I have to bring up. Is he doing better? He's doing better offensively. Is he doing better defensively? Not so much. Because again, some people are like, oh, look at it. And it's nice to look at the offensive numbers. But if you want to look at the all-around defenseman, like he's not at the point of like a Hedman or a Fox or anything. And so a part of it is going really well. And I'm judging him a little more harshly because he's a top pairing defenseman now. Just scoring points isn't enough.
Yeah, I will say, we did talk a little bit about, he had over 22 minutes of ice time in this one. Torts even acknowledged it was too much, and they're trying
Yes.
to get his minutes down, to get him solid rest over that Christmas break. But he only had one extra long shift all game. So that
Right.
is a good
Well, they were
thing.
all that was a good job by the team because they
Yeah.
knew that if guys were out there too long, it's poison in that mark, with that air. So they were very good about that. The entire
Yeah.
coaching staff did a good job on that.
Yeah, I was very impressed with, I did look at all the shift
Yeah.
lengths, and like very few extra long shifts in this game from anybody, but
No,
Travis
from
Sanheim
anybody. That's true.
yeah, so like Travis Sanheim in particular, to see that ice time getting managed a little better, I think will help him defensively in the long run,
Oh, no
right?
question, because there's mental fatigue.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think that was a really good element of it. You mentioned Carter Hart. What a game from him,
Yeah.
honestly. He did, and all the guys talked him up after the game
You
in
had
terms
to.
of,
I mean, you had
yeah, he made a ton of really key saves. Definitely was screened on that second goal for the Avalanche. So there was like little to nothing he could have done about that one. And his save percentage is back up into the top 10 in the NHL overall. Goals against is different, but I think goals against is more
No,
of a
that's a
team
team stat.
stat.
If you notice,
Yeah.
I never bring that up.
Yeah, yeah. So the save percentage, which is the more important one,
It
is
is.
back up into the top 10 in the NHL. So love to see that from him, and I think he's really starting to get in the zone.
He's in the zone in a contract year. You know how guys are
Yeah.
sometimes in contract years.
Yeah, well, there is so much more to talk about with this game. Got to talk about the young guys. We got to talk about Travis Konecny, penalty
Hmm.
shot, goal, and all so much more. And we will do that coming up next. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. They've got over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die. You'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with their eBay guaranteed fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back, because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay guaranteed fit only, available to US customers. On tomorrow's show, we will have a preview of the Flyers versus the Nashville Predators. And we will also be talking Lehigh Valley Phantoms. They had their teddy bear toss game. Excited to talk about that one
They had a
as
great,
well.
a great ice sculpture menorah. That was amazing.
Yeah, they did. They did. So really cool to see that. Happy Hanukkah, by the way, to all those who celebrate. In the meantime, I want to get into a little bit about the younger guys in this game. Bobby Brink, to me, just had a tremendous game overall. You could see he was working really hard on the forecheck all game.
Yeah.
It came to into fruition, on one of his assists in that game. His chemistry with Tippett is really starting to come into focus here. The patience he had on that pass uh,
Hmm.
to Farabee was like just the vision. I'm so impressed with him, and I think he's building out a more complete game than maybe he had earlier in the season.
Yeah, I think so. I think right now his confidence is high, and you're getting some really good play out of him like that. Those are pro plays. I mean, he deserves to be where he is, and he keeps playing like that. He's going to have a good year.
Yeah, I think so too. With Owen Tippett, again, another strong game from him. We've talked about in the past that he wasn't really good at following up on plays and things like that. But this year, that's turning around a little bit, and
Yeah,
now we've seen it
following up on the
multiple
rebounds.
times.
Yeah, he's better at following up his own rebounds for sure. I don't know about following up his shot, like if he takes a shot from a certain area, but if he's in close, he is doing better at that, and that definitely was a nice goal from him doing that. He had a couple points. I still don't know if I see a huge uptick right now, but there's an uptick, so that's good.
Yeah, I think it is good, and I think that the more chemistry that they build together, they're going to help each other along, and I think that's a really good thing.
So I mean, there's a certain segment of the Flyers fan base, and I kind of wonder when the coach has to admit the team looks better with Morgan Frost in there. When he's in there, the puck moves better up the ice. There's scoring chances, the passing. At some point, somebody has to admit this because it's almost like there are some fans now that have turned on him. Like I get messages like, "Oh, he's not this or he's not that, not intense enough." Not it's like, and that they're getting that because the coach doesn't feel that. But it would be nice if once in a while the coach could acknowledge a good game from Frost if he
Yeah,
feels like it.
and it didn't really show up on the scoreboard again, but he did
Well, he had
so
an
much
assist.
good
He did have
puck.
one.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the puck movement from him, to your point, was really good.
Very good.
Yeah, I was impressed with that, and I think even Zamula had a pretty solid
He
game.
did.
Like
I
there
don't
was
think he's been as
no,
bad as advertised. I'm going to be honest
yeah.
about that. I just don't.
Yeah, I think, like, he did not make, like, any significant mistakes in this game.
No.
I think he made a couple really good heads up plays, to corral the puck and get it out of the defensive zone. So I was really, like, impressed with Zamula's game. So I think, like, in terms of looking at some of the younger guys on the team, I thought that was, a really good all-around effort from all of them in this one.
Yeah, it would have been nice if one other younger player could have gotten some time, but okay, I agree.
Yeah. And then Travis Konecny, of course. I really feel like Travis Konecny is like the soul of this team in a
He
lot of
is.
ways.
He is.
Where, like, so goes Travis Konecny, so goes the Flyers. Like, if you
Right.
look at where he's been scoring a lot, you see it's in games where the Flyers have a lot of momentum, and I think he just sort of carries the team like they're drafting off him in terms of his energy and what he brings. I mean, that, like, penalty shot goal just completely lifted the whole team.
It did. I mean, yeah, there's no question he energizes the team. He's the catalyst. He's the most important guy on the team right now. It's not to say Sean Couturier is playing bad. Atkinson's almost playing bad, like for the last couple of weeks.
Oh,
But
man,
not
that, like,
connecting.
2-on-1 where he didn't score, I was just like,
Yeah.
"Oh, Cam,
Yeah, but
Cam."
Konechny's just not had a lull at all. Again,
No.
really the only thing, and this happened last year too, the only thing that derailed it was injury, and you just hope he stays healthy because he's playing the same hockey as last year. Really was better than, like, a little bit of a notch above the rest of his career, which was always good, and it was even better.
Yeah.
So you just hope he stays healthy.
Yeah, 16 goals. He's in the top 10 in
Yeah,
the NHL in goals scored now. Certainly reaping the rewards of all of that hard work. Another little maybe unsung hero of this game is Scott Laughton because he took a ton of faceoffs
yeah,
in this game. Lots was 62% from the dot in this game. And
it's a
he
great
also
number.
had the 3rd most time on ice of the team for this game, and I think it was because of the way they were doing the forward rotation. That's why it turned out that way. But, yeah, Lott's winning 62%. Coots was 56%. He's slowly getting better and better and
Is
stronger out there as well, but, I do wanna give Scott Laughton a little bit of credit in this game.
well, I think we have to acknowledge something. Like, he deserves the credit, but he is a John Tortorella player. And if Torts is going to finish out his coaching here, then honestly, Scott Laughton should be the captain even over Sean Couturier. That is no slight
Yeah,
against Couturier. It's just Laughton does these other things that basically anything he's asked to do, like anything. And if it even seems crazy, like playing double shifting at center, he does it.
yep.
And so, like, this is where I think John needs to just make him captain. I don't understand why he's not.
Yeah, well, it's funny because, like, I talked, to Keith Jones in the presser for the outdoor game
Yeah,
back then, and, I mentioned Sean Couturier as a possible captain option to him then, but that outdoor game would be a good opportunity to name a captain
right.
overall, and, he just kinda looked at me with this sly grin, and I'm like, I know Torts doesn't wanna do it, but that would be a tremendous atmosphere in
It
order to
would.
name the captain.
I just
So
think
I'm
it's
gonna
long
keep
overdue. That's all.
yeah. Yeah. So whoever it is, I think that would
Yeah,
be
they're
an
both
amazing
deserving.
opportunity.
They're both deserving. I just feel like I don't know. Like, there's no more Scott Lawton could do as a hockey player. He's doing as much as he could possibly do.
Yeah, I think so as well. So I just wanted to make sure we talked about him a little bit
No, I agree.
in relation to this game. Of course, there was like limited special teams time in this game. Flyers got the job done on the penalty kill, though Carter Hart was a huge part of that
Oh yeah,
as well. And they were 0 for 1 on the power play, but yeah, only getting one shot at it.
yeah.
Don't want to judge too harshly there. So I think like overall, this was a really smartly played game by the
Hmm.
Flyers. They took advantage of things where they needed to. They were smart defensively. They had a really good strategy going into it, and they executed. And we got goals and really heads up play from a variety of players on this team. All in all, I would call this like an A win.
Yeah, I mean, no reason not to.
But really excited to see if they can carry this into Nashville, which we will talk about on tomorrow's show. In the meantime, it is Monday, so we will be talking about our nemesis of the week, and we will do that coming up next.
You know that feeling when your favorite Flyers player scores a hat trick? If you want to get that feeling, win 100 times your money, play daily fantasy hockey on the Sleeper app. As the official daily fantasy app of the Locked On NHL Network, Sleeper is our top choice for daily fantasy sports, especially daily fantasy hockey. Fans can also play daily fantasy NFL, NBA, MLB, and college football on Sleeper, and entries can be made in under a minute. With elite players like Connor McDavid, Sidney Crosby, Austin Matthews, plus new guys like Connor Bedard, all you need to do is make more or less picks on stats for these stars. Choose from stats like goals, assists, saves, plus minus, and more. To win 100 times bet on Sleeper, you need to correctly predict the outcome of 8 player stats. You heard me, Flyers fans. You could win 100 times your money playing daily fantasy hockey with Sleeper. So start paying attention and nail your picks so you can start winning big. Use promo code Locked On NHL and you'll get a $100 match, up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. That's code Locked On NHL. See Sleeper's terms of use for details and locational availability.
Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel over on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league like Locked On NHL. Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube to subscribe. For our nemesis of the week, last week, we talked about this road trip. We were facing three different kinds of teams. And I think, for me, I was looking at can they make the adjustments between a young up and coming team like Arizona, a cup contender like Colorado, and then Nashville, which has had some significant success recently, but in a completely different way with a top goaltender and preparing for each game in this road trip in a very different way to match up appropriately. We've had two of the three games. They have won two of those games, both of them, and I think they did prepare for each of them correctly and had the right strategy for each game. You can see how they executed on that strategy. To me, this bodes well for the game against Nashville. But obviously you have to do the work to get into it. I think that as we look ahead to this week, we've got that Nashville game that they're playing the Caps, who have found success, the Red Wings, who have found some success this season, and I think the challenges and the ability to adjust and the focus on can they adjust will continue, right?
Yeah, I agree.
So, my nemesis for this week then is dealing with this changing expectations or potentially changing expectations. I think the Flyers are getting more and more eyes on this team as they've been winning more games. Like people are around the national media and like
Mhm.
national conversations are saying, is this Flyers team good? And just asking like that basic question. They're looking not only at the fact that they're winning, but they're looking at how they are winning. And
Mhm.
I think that, right now they've been sort of playing with house money and that the expectations were extremely low. Will those expectations change and how will the team deal with it? I think is an interesting thing to look at over the next month, 4 to 6 weeks of games.
Yeah, I think you'll have a little better idea at that point. I do think this has happened before where all of a sudden, people start paying attention. And then if they were to drop, then you get these Eagles fans that say, well, now that the Eagles season's over, we were going to all pay attention to the Flyers and they're not doing as well. You can't count on these things every year. So, like, I know there's Eagles fans that pay very little attention to the Flyers until that season's over. I would hope they would, people would pay more attention all the time, like it's to hockey, because it's a great sport. But this town's a little weird with that. So they still haven't really captured Philly yet. They've captured their fans, but not Philly yet. So we'll see. How long that might take. Um, I'm going to go out with my nemesis of the week is going to be. People can look it up. There's a David Perron hit against Artem Zub that happened. Dylan Larkin, captain of the Red Wings, wasn't hit in a terrible way in the sense that it was dirty, but he got hit by two different guys, and he's had neck trouble in the past, and he got carried off the ice with his neck sort of hanging. And I know I'm a guy that has had neck trouble for many, many years. And so you feel bad, and you know that when Larkin gets back, it's probably going to bother him all year. Now, the problem is then plays long dead. David Perron goes up and he basically hits Artem Zub with his stick, and I forget how he did it, maybe up high, and it's like, why? If you're going to retaliate, then you're better off retaliating in another game. But to do it like that, David Perron needs like a 10 or a 15 game suspension, because you can't do it like that. And players will defend David Perron because they'll be like, look, our best player is hurt. You have to, stick up for your player, but you're sticking up for something that was a clean hit. Like, guys get injured. And that is my nemesis of this. It's like, I love players that stick up for other players. But this injury didn't occur because of dirty hits. But then a dirty hit after was the so-called, well, this is, had to be done because, our captain got hurt.
Right. Yeah, it's always tough because that's kind of the mantra of hockey, right? Is you stick up for
Yeah.
your guy and you have to retaliate in some way. I think we're seeing, because of the emphasis on reduction of fighting, we're seeing these retaliatory hits in
Yeah.
a lot of ways instead of that, and that could be causing more problems in the long run. It's something I think
Well, I was
that
told
the
that by
league should look
players. Yeah, I was told that by players years ago, that if you curb that stick infractions and things like that would go up. But I still think we're in the 21st century, and players now have to have a different take on the game. This was 20 years ago that players told me that. Has nothing changed, really?
I don't know. I think it's changed with some people and not with others.
Yeah,
And I think it'll take some time, in terms of when coaches and management age out and we get
right,
more younger
right.
guys in those positions who have grown up with a different sort of game.
I think that's
I,
that's important to say. I think you're right.
yeah, yeah. So I think that is something to keep an eye on. I think the Flyers have been generally pretty good about that.
Yeah, they're good at it because they haven't jumped anybody that gave a clean hit to one of their guys just because they're down. So I think
Right.
they've been good about it.
Yeah, I think so too. So that is a good thing to see there. That will do it for today's show. We'll be back again tomorrow, talking about the Nashville Predators and the Lehigh Valley Phantoms, who had a split weekend, including that teddy bear toss game that I mentioned earlier. Should be a lot of fun. As a reminder, we always want to hear from you. We will have a mailbag segment this week, so send those questions in via Twitter at Locked On Flyers. You can email us at lockedonflyers@gmail or comment over on YouTube. I am Rachel. I'm on the app formerly known as Twitter at rmiriam. That's RMIRIAM.
I'm Russ. I'm at Sportsology, SPORTSOLOGY.
Have a great day, everyone.